What's up, guys? So I want to talk about rejection, and I just want to get this out there. First off, about like when I first started this, about a few years ago, um, still remember one of my few first approaches, and those were the toughest in certain ways because they were like the first times I ever did it. I remember this may have been my first approach that I've actually officially done. It may not have, but it's the one I remember clearly and the earliest. And this girl was really good looking. She was brunette and actually taller than me too. So I remember about like half a year to a year before that, if not longer, I had learned about this sort of stuff, and I was reading up on dating advice. I remember freshman year of college, which was roughly 3 to 4 years ago, so not that long ago. When I first got into this, um, I remember just realizing how crappy things were, and how like the one girl who showed interest in me, I screwed it up with. Um, but that's a story for another time. Long story short, I googled like how to get girls or something like that, and it started from there. Anyhow, here I am now a few years later. But I remember the first approach. It may have not been a first, and quite honestly, she rejected me, and it wasn't like a brutal rejection. That's one thing you'll learn pretty quick. Most girls are fairly nice. It's still brutal, and it can, at least it hurt me quite a bit, but they were always nice about it. And for me, it was like, it's, it doesn't matter if you're nice about it, it still kind of sucks. But they're always like, I still remember that approach. She says something like, I had a boyfriend, or I gotta go, or no thanks, I'm not interested. And whether or not it was my first approach or not, I don't think it was, but it was like the one where I actually went hard just to make sure she was rejecting me, because I had it with uh, beating around the bush all the time. In fact, I remember one approach I think I did before that. Um, uh, and I mean, there are times when I just beat it around the bush to a point where it was like, did she really even reject me? Did I even actually lay out the gauntlet for her to reject me? So I actually did, and it went badly. And then it it hurt, but honestly, I was surprised at how quickly I forgot it, because I had read a lot up on how um, just that, like there's this whole sort of teaching behind it that was like, the rejections, you forget about them quickly. What stings is that feeling of what if. And I read up on that, but it took me a long time to manage the courage. In fact, that approach, it took me like, God knows, like 20, 30 minutes, if not more, of like working up the courage while she was like at the library. And then like the only thing that pushed me was the fact that she left the library, for me to approach, because it was like now or never, or she'd be gone. And I remember that because like there's two people watching, and I still have yet to shake that off when people are watching. But yeah, long story short, that's what happened. So the message of this video is pretty much, um, if you're new to this, or if you're hurting about rejection, like, um, it's going to happen. And for those of you who say like it never happens, like, it happens to everyone who actually goes out there and tries, no matter how good looking you are. And that's the whole thing. Like, even if you're the best looking guy on the earth, some girl is going to find you at fault. And there have been like experiments, social experiments done on YouTube with like even really good looking guys who get shot down surprisingly a lot. So there's always someone who won't like something about you in a certain way. And so it's just like, this is just like telling you guys, it's not, you'll get over it. And it sucks, and I'm not at the top, a couple years later. I wish I could come to you and be like, now I've changed completely. Now I am a chick magnet. I have all these girls, and they're all beautiful, and I've got it all in the bag. Honestly, it's not that way. I'm still learning and improving and um, stuff like that. But at least for now, rejection's gotten a lot better. Um, and like, I guess the biggest warning once you get over that hump is to not go in the other extreme. Like, some people will just they'll get over that hump, and then from there they turn into like a robot. Like, rejection becomes meaningless to them to the point where it's like nothing. Um, and I remember first getting into this, and um, I felt crushed when I got rejected, and that happened a few times. But for whatever reason, like, I expected myself to cry over it or something like that. And I never did. I thought it'd even be a good story, but I never cried over it. I felt bad inside, but maybe it was just because, like, I'd gone through a lot worse that actually prompted crying, that I felt like this wasn't really worth crying for, or for whatever reason. Like, one could reason that I've gone through so much that I can't cry anymore. That's actually something that happens, believe it or not. But for whatever reason, um, I found that rejection, it's not that big a deal anymore. However, I always, I'm not gonna lie. There were times when I sort of become that became that robot. But on the flip side, I feel like uh, I don't want to be that guy who's like the girl will see and be like, oh, that's the guy who doesn't care about rejection. He's just the guy who just brushes it off and moves on to the next girl right in front of you. Um, and I feel like you can get bad reactions from girls from that. Like, maybe they'll reject you, but it's not a hard rejection, and she still might like give you a chance later on. But you blow that because you show off like you don't really even put that much value into a girl, to a point where it's like you're that sleaze who just hits on everyone at the bar and doesn't even give a crap if anyone gets rejected. Um, and I mean, that could work to some people's advantage, but I mean, I don't know. You have to play it in a way where you're not coming across as that sleaze or that robotic guy who's just he has no standards and he's just going from girl to girl to girl. At least if you have to do that, don't do it in front of a girl. Because I have gotten bad reactions when I didn't show anything when I got rejected. But that may have just been me. That just may have been my perspective. I don't know. Um, but the one thing I do know is that, um, and I've been told this by a lot of people, rejection. I mean, what does it matter? It's like any other species. Like, if they get rejected, they don't take it so personally. They just move on. And I guess it's because we place so much value uh, in ourselves. It's just like a human thing, and it's not that big a deal. You'll get over it. And this is one thing I've been told countless times. There's billions of people, and to really understand that number, I did like mathematical calculations. I did like this whole video on it, but I never got to uploading it because it was just too much editing. But long story short, I did the math, and it was like, to really understand the amount of people, billions, like, mathematically, you cannot meet every single person on the earth face to face in real life because there's not enough time in your lifetime. Um, like, if I did the math, and it was like you would have to meet like 100 people every like half second or something in order to meet all the girls in the world. It was like insanity. So don't worry about rejection. Like, there's plenty of efficiency, and I mean, right now for me, it's hard to say. So don't whine if you're complaining about that, because I mean, despite the plenty of fish, I'm living in this ghost town, um, in my state. uh, and yeah, like one could reason my state college is large, but I mean that still it's still like it still doesn't always work. But don't you worry, we'll both get through this together, and hopefully we'll improve. But the biggest thing is like rejection isn't the most crazy thing in the world, and it's crazy. I remember there a time a few years ago when I thought about it, and I was like, I really want to either film a skit or some sort of scene and upload it on YouTube just to show the transformation. Um, but like I wouldn't know how to do that. But still, like I wanted to give that message across where the scene would start with me starting out and just getting into this, and after the first few rejections, I would break down crying, but after getting over that and years of that, I started getting better, and I realized that it wasn't that big a deal, and um, I don't have to take life so seriously and just take just enjoy life. And I'm still trying to figure it out, but that would be an awesome scene. Um, and yeah, I never technically cried about it because I guess deep down, for whatever reason, I felt it wasn't worthy of something to be cried about. But yeah, it's like if one were to sum up all of that into some sort of theatrical YouTube skit depicting my progression in the last few years, it'd be um, something like that, where I I'd read up on it on YouTube, go out, and I went to the mall just to try it out. And my town's a ghost town, so it sucked, but um, there wasn't too many girls. And then like the few I approached, they were really I mean, I got rejected, and the scene would be like me crying after that, and then after years of self improvement, realizing that rejection doesn't really hurt that much, and realizing that I'm good enough a person. So then I progressed to like a guy who doesn't never get rejected, but does get rejected, but is able to just brush it off his shoulders. And I think that's so much better of a story than someone who never gets rejected. Um, so I don't know. Maybe in the future I'll sort of depict that scene and upload it on YouTube. Um, but you guys get the message. Oh yes. By the way, I wasn't going to include this, but for those of you who stuck around this whole video, might as well. The camera might die any second now, so don't blame me if it cuts off. Um, I remember a few years ago, I just got into this, and I did one of my first approaches on this blonde girl who looked fairly old, like late 20s, but still very attractive. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in college, and she was at the mall eating, and I approached her and complimented her, and immediately she was like, yes, thank you, I gotta go now though, and she left. I actually get a lot of that. um, and obviously what it is like she's like she pretty much made an excuse to leave, and she said, oh yeah, I gotta go now. I think, I don't know how I found out. Maybe I asked her, but she told me that she worked on the upper level of the mall. And yeah, maybe I was too young. Maybe I wasn't her type for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, she wasn't having it. She was really attractive though. And then I was just like sort of stunned afterwards, like great. And like I don't even know what it was. Like this was a girl who was like her full-time job was working at a store at the mall, and for whatever reason she wasn't interested. And So I was walking away, and this guy who was like, he had he had a collared shirt with a tie on. He was white. He looked like he was pretty old as well, like late 20s. And he was just like, his eyes were sparkling, and he sat me down and he said like, "What's your name? I just saw that. That was amazing. You just gotta tell me your story." And at that moment, I was just like, that was so worth it just to inspire this guy, even though I got rejected yet again. And I told him what I did, and I told him what I knew, which wasn't much. I said like, I told him how I stumbled across self improvement and dating advice through Google, and yeah, and he pulled out his laptop, and he was like, he seemed like late 20s, early 30s, and this guy was like, he was probably like the average dude, like sort of like fed up with life in certain ways. And the first thing I noticed was like, he told me to like show him the website. He was actually fairly enthusiastic about it, and I typed in the website for him, and maybe he typed in the website, and the page wouldn't load, and it kept going to like these phishing sites, and I immediately knew that like his laptop was infested with like adware and like spyware, because I mean he had to have like it immediately implied, forgive the language, but that he was probably going on a lot of like bad websites, like pornographic websites, which usually cause a lot of this like fish, like this sort of virus that won't let you go to websites. So he was like, oh crap, the website's not loading, and it kept redirecting him to like these spam sites. And yeah, and my, don't get me wrong, it wasn't my website. My website was reddit.com, so that's like the one of the big websites of today. But anyhow, that's I told him what I did. I didn't go too in depth like I did, like I didn't go too in depth in this video. Like, quite honestly, if you really get into like dating advice, you'll find out that, at least online, there's a huge sort of girth of information on this thing called pickup, which in a lot of ways was helpful to me, but it has like a negative stigma in the general public, which is why I don't really talk about in my videos. But yeah, it actually taught me a lot just about myself, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And there's always more to improve about myself. And yeah, that's about it. So it was an inspiring story, and right after that, I just said goodbye and left. But there you go. I mean, one thing I am happy about is that some guys will actually be impressed, they'll be inspired, they'll be in awe about it, they'll love it, and they'll cheer you on when you have the balls to do that, because I guess they know how hard it is and how daunting it can be. And I mean, I don't know why, but you know, just naturally, I guess a lot of guys, including me, sometimes they think like if you approach a girl and another guy sees, they're almost assured to get jealous or make fun of you or something or other. And I'm glad that didn't happen. So I'm glad that guy saw it, and maybe he'll take it to another level. I hope that little occurrence changed his life, because based on my short analysis and talk with him, I knew what kind of guy he was. You know, he probably he had a job, he was getting through life. He wasn't doing that great, but I mean, we're still all working through it. I mean, I'm definitely not there yet. I mean, I haven't had a girlfriend, and I'm graduating college. But that's a story for another day. As always, like, favorite, comment, and leave your thoughts if you want to, and subscribe. It's free.